You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. And there's a lot going on in the NFT space right now. And I can just say, from some of the, drama between Web3 creators, kind of being exposed based on some old tweets that they might have posted. Of course, there's lots of rumors leading up to the Super Bowl. There's a lot going on right now in this NFT space. And, part of the thing with this podcast is that, my goal has always been to try my best to, educate, motivate, inspire, but also at the same time, create, that, evergreen content, and not only evergreen content, but also, I believe, firmly that we should be learning and looking at all, the good and the bad that happens both in Web3 and in Web2 and like what we can learn from it. And I will tell you, one of the biggest mistakes that exist in like this entire like early adoption phase of tech for me is like the argument or like the really like this like ownership idea of like of terminology. And so let's just kick it off at the bat and just say, if you're a normie, and I just want to clarify, like normie is not a bad thing. It's actually, I think it's a great label, and I think it's something we can kind of like lean into. And really what a normie, was kind of, I would say in the crypto space, it was more, kind of attached to someone that was initially skeptical about cryptocurrency and like, kind of put their baby toe in, and then eventually started to warm up to the space. When I look at what a normie is versus a degen or a degenerate, with what many in the NFT space are, I think I identify as that without question. But the normie side of the house, part of it is that, it's not, when you think about like buying and selling NFTs, it's not like, hey, this is, wow, that I can't believe the floor went down. That price of that NFT is cheap. It's only 0.8 Ethereum. And, when a degen says that, they're thinking about it in the sense of like comparison to an NFT market. But for a normie, they're going to look at that and say, wait, well, great, that's 0.8, but that's still, $2,000 US dollars or whatever that may be. And the reason I want to draw attention to this is that the need for people and all of us to surround ourselves with people that keep us grounded, with people that, are going to question and to, kind of ask us to like talk things out, I believe is essential. And, I want to give a shout out to, we did a Q&A in the Discord this morning for all those that are in the Discord, because we just crossed over 1,000 active members there. And Carter, one of the members in the Discord, came up and asked me the question. He's like, Brian, with all the things going on, like what keeps you up at night? And I gave a couple different answers. For me, part of it is really, we're buying an NFT every single day for a year, and I want to make sure that we're putting in the work and the research, and I'm buying projects that are going to make the bag, the NFT collection as a whole worth more money, but also balancing it with my like need and desire and passion for supporting NFT projects, and especially great NFT projects, and that's always been one for me. And then like kind of managing DMs. But then I got off of the Q&A and I sat here for about an hour just thinking about like, what are the things that, excite me? What are the things that worry me? How does this all look? And part of it is, it's very easy for us to get into the weeds of the technology, but it's even easier for us to get into the weeds of the terminology. And it bothers me, because I believe there are a lot of people that use terminology, trends, things that are going on, with good faith, right? Not with any ill will. But there are also people that use terminology or complex wording because they have a desire to make you feel less, make you feel like you're not worthy or you're not part of the cool kids club. And I hate that. I hate that with every fiber of my being. Like, my mission is to always disrupt like the one percenters that only care about making the one percenters rich. And they, it's the old YouTube mentality, and not a shot at YouTube, but it's those that said, you know what, I'm not going to collaborate with anyone that doesn't have 1 million subscribers. And let's make that wealth gap massive between the haves and the have-nots. And it really bothers me. And where I'm starting to see it is that it's very easy for people to use their, let's just say they can use their PFP. Let's say they have I use Bored Apes too much. Let's say they have a CryptoPunk as their PFP photo. And for, the last many time, for a good while now, they've been able to use that and kind of present that as like, hey, this is what I know in the space because I have this NFT. And I'm going to tell you that alone as a benchmark is ridiculous. And it's just like everything in life. Just because you've accomplished something doesn't mean two things. Doesn't mean that person can teach others to do it because maybe the way they did it was so unique to them. Also, there's a lot of people that don't even know how they became who they became, or they got successful how they got successful, or it was all about timing and the right place and right time. You can't really replicate that or teach that. And what I believe is happening right now in the NFT space is that the old guard and the new guard are now realizing that it is less about what your bag has and what your profile photo is, and more about what you can prove, more about what you can implement, more about what you can do, what you are doing. And I love that space. Like, give me, let's square off and talk about, strategies and technology, and let's talk about trends, and let's talk about minting methodologies. I will go blow for blow with anyone. I'm not saying I know more than everyone, but I am very confident in what I know. And it's based on hours, thousands of hours that I've been spending in this space. And, it's very easy. And shout out to my buddy Gregarious. We were using that, analogy of, when someone's trying to climb Mount Everest, right? If you're trying to climb Mount Everest, you can take a map and try to climb it yourself, which is, jumping into the NFT space and just trying to wing it. You can, of course, you hire a Sherpa, and that's someone that is going to help you know the lay of the land and learn as you go. And then maybe you become, you get to a point where you no longer need that. You can see the top and you can kind of go on your own. But the interesting thing is there are also people that took a helicopter to the top of the mountain, and then they want to teach people how to climb the mountain. And there are a lot of those people in the NFT space that they couldn't even tell you how they got to what they got or the reputation or the following. And this is some big name people. I believe there are some people that many people in the community, many of you listeners are probably fans of, and I'm not hating. It's more of, we have to recognize that, it's not only about what people are saying, but not only what people are doing, but also you have to kind of read between the lines, right? And it's why I tell people, go and look how many people that preach community, how many people are they following back on Twitter. Go look at someone's @mentions on Twitter and see how many times they reply to everyone, or they only reply to their inner circle, their cool kids friends. Go look at someone when they're talking about an upcoming project. Are they talking about that project before it launches, or they talk about it after it's in their bag? There's a lot of people in this space that are that way. And so when I bring this full circle to the normie conversation, right, I believe part of the thing about being a normie and being someone that isn't, a degenerate, isn't just trying to, hit that 100, maybe you're still trying to hit the 100x, NFT collection, but you're being very methodical with your spend, and you're not just jumping into projects, but when you get into a project, you go deep into that project and you want to kick all the tires. And I will say, this is something that I think we have to recognize, is that, when we're looking at our NFT collections and what we're investing our time in, it's just as important onto what projects that you decide to buy into, to two things: what projects you decide not to buy into, but then also which projects that you realize either you outgrew or that energy is no longer something you want to be associated with, and it's time for you to sell it. It might even be to sell it at a loss for less than what you bought it for, but knowing that, hey, that liquidity will allow you to jump into another project. And it took me a while to figure that out. And some people refer to that as that's the advanced methodology, right? Like the idea that, selling for a loss so that you can jump into another project that you have confidence in is actually not a loss, because you're actually taking, rather than like trying to ride out the one that you're unsure on, you're continuing to bet on yourself and kind of moving that forward. And I say all of that because, don't allow those that are using big words or big technology. They're using things like, WAGMI, or, they're even going as far into, the different, terminology where they're breaking down like, well, is it a proof of work or a proof of stake? And, can you explain the difference between Web 2 and Web 3? And, what is, all, so here's the thing. The NFT landscape today is much different than what I was in November when we started this project of buying an NFT every single day for a year. Much different. It's not even like I've shared this a lot. Like there was the idea of like all this whitelist hunting and you had to be on whitelist wasn't really a thing. There was a couple projects that had whitelists and raffles back in the fall, but that now it's like it's the norm. It's like the thing that everyone's kind of doing and sharing. And so I say all that because I think it's important for us to recognize that, that the times are changing. And here's the good news of that. If you identify as a normie, or maybe you listen to all the episodes, here's the beauty, is that the more times that you ask questions, it's going to do two things. It's going to help those in the audience that are either afraid to ask a question or they're unsure of what questions to ask. And it's also going to put that challenge and onus on those that we are looking at as thought leaders, as influencers in this NFT space. Because I, for one, have learned for far too long that I have to worry about educating the audience, not about breaking down the people that I don't trust, because there's a lot of those people that are going to get away with it and they're going to ride high and they're going to have, radio shows and they're going to, get these like popular interviews and they're going to all of a sudden, start to, kind of present themselves in ways that they're too good for everyone else. And it's about damn time someone noticed how amazing they are. And I believe in this space, those that are going to be the leaders in this space, and we're seeing many leaders emerge. If you didn't listen to the episode with M, better known as NFTs girl, the CMO at Crypto Chicks, I believe she is a leader. I believe she is a pioneer. I believe she's someone that I would put my chips on to say that the things that she's involved in, not just in Crypto Chicks, but the other projects she's advising and a part of, those are ones I would bet on. She is her breadth of experience and background and passion for the space, and she's connected to a younger generation. I saw she had a tweet the other day that said that she went back to her group chat from college, and it was about crypto. And 8 years later, that the crypto group chat was still going on, and I was laughing because I was like, man. College for me was 19 years ago. And we didn't have group chats. We had AOL Instant Messenger, but we didn't talk crypto. And we talked Napster downloads, and maybe we talked about MTV or the real world that was happening on or what was going on. And so I just thought it was such an interesting juxtaposition, because it was like, wow. While you're educating yourself in university, and we can argue about, the value of going to university or not, but really the idea that there is a generation of people, of amazing leaders that have been eating, breathing, thinking with a crypto first mindset since they were in college. I hated econ. Finance class was one of my worst classes in college. So for me, getting into this space where there is these other components, I am having to level myself up. I'm having to educate myself. I'm having to also bring in other leaders that know more about this area than I do, right? We're going to have more, another CPA coming on very soon. We're going to have other people in this space. But the reason I say that this is so important is that we are evolving and creating a culture right now, a culture that we get to decide is what we want to be a part of. And I'm a believer. I am all in the NFT space. I got this question during Q&A today as well. It's like, Brian, we know it seems like a far out, but like, what are your plans after November 11th when it's, 365 days of the podcast and the show? And I was like, oh, I got no plans in the future that don't include a daily podcast on, some, evolution of this entire space. I can tell you, I've already, working through some ideas, for some spin-off content and spin-off shows that I want to include into this, medium and amplify and leverage. But I say all of that because it's not about like what you've done in the past. I believe it's about what you've learned in the past and how you can relate that to what's going on today. And I think for those that are considering themselves a normie, but you're listening to this podcast every day, you're the ones that are going to make this entire space work out. You're the ones that are going to be the ones that not only lead us in the right direction, and many of you might turn into the degens or might create your own podcast, might create your own things. But here's a place I don't want us to think about. Don't jump too forward into the idea that we need to be the thought leaders and the influencers. We need more people right now that are in these communities, that are learning, that are listening, that are sharing their energy and their information, that are amplifying the good people doing good things. With that, good people doing good things, as many of you know, our podcast sponsor is CEX, the Creator Economy Expo. And I believe, many of, if not all of those that are on the stage at this event are people that I know personally. And I would say they are the ones that we want to look up to. That there are some great YouTubers, some great marketers, some great writers, some great authors that are going to be on that event. And it's happening May 2nd in Phoenix, Arizona. And you can get your ticket at mint.cex.events. And if you want to get a discount on your ticket, you can just use code NFT365 to get a discount there. And I will say, when we're thinking about this, mentioning these good people doing good things, the project we minted today is a project that I just have to highlight as it was a project that I had never heard of until I was in New York City at the NYC NFT event, which of course spawned this podcast. And it was, I remember going in there, and I don't know if I went in there for that presentation or if I was sitting through a whole bunch of presentations on that day in the theater. But, out walked an astronaut. And yeah, I mean like a real astronaut, like someone that's been to space. And she was sharing, part of like her journey and like information and how she was looking at the space. And then there were some others that were on the stage that were, really into, not only everything in space, but there were, they're like leaders in, in the NASA world, in the emerging tech, in the innovation, into outer space, into, the great beyond. And what I loved about it was like, there was a combination of like, pioneers, of storytellers, of filmmakers. And the project is called Pause in Space, PAWS in Space. And I remember that the thing that they said was the Mutniks. And I remember that time being like, what is a Mutnik? And like, that's such a weird name to use. Like, I didn't like really understand like what that all was all about. And it was Dr. Sion Proctor was the astronaut that was there on stage, and it was Mike Mongo and a couple others that were there, and give a shout out to all of them, Alex. But they're all involved in this project called Pause in Space, and it's about literally dogs, Mutniks, these into they say celebrating the space pioneer canines. Now they had a Genesis collection that sold before, and right now they have another collection that is minting. And I will say, like, listening to them and like what they want to do with NFTs and how they want to reinvent education and take us on these journeys, not only journeys, physical journeys, but journeys into the metaverse. I remember sitting in that session being like, man, this NFT space literally is going to go to the moon. See what I did there? Pun intended. And I remember feeling like there is no, like, there's no limit or ceiling. Like we could really take this to outer space. Okay, that's enough of the puns. Sorry. Sometimes I laugh at my own self. But the reason I want to say that I want to put this project out there is it's a great project. It's a great mission. But here's the thing, and it's something that I'm going to hit a lot in future episodes. What is the experience you have from the minute you arrive on the Twitter account or the website to the minute that you get your NFT, to the minute the art reveals itself, to the minute, the fact that you're added to the holders only chat inside of the Discord. And I will just say this, that the pause in space, and I'll have to, excuse me, I got a little hiccups there in a second. I'll have to give you the website for the minting. And so the minting website, and I just got to tell you, even if you're not going to buy one, go to this website, right? For everyone that I haven't told anyone to go to any website yet, ever. Not once on this podcast. It's kind of crazy, right? Here's the, for an NFT. If you go to cosmicpause, PAWS.io, and I got to give a shout out to those that were in our Twitter space last night. They're the ones that turned me on to this. And then they had me like literally an hour and a half later, I was still playing on this website. So here's the warning. Do your own damn research, but also you can blame me, but please don't hate me for what's going to happen when you go to this website, cosmicpause.io. Because what is beautiful about it is you can connect your wallet, and connecting your wallet, of course, just is like you signing to the website. Doesn't mean you're going to buy anything. But then you can hit the generate button. And what it does is you are looking like kind of like in the, I feel like we are, we're in the headquarters of NASA, and we're looking at the big screens here. I'm trying to visualize it for all those here on the podcast. And you hit generate, and it actually generates one of the NFT art for you. And if you like it, you can be like, sweet, I want to mint it. Or you're like, you know what, I like it, but I'm not sure. Well, you can open another tab, go to the same website, and you can hit generate again, and it's going to generate you another one. And you can just keep doing this over and over again until you find the NFT that you actually like. And what is beautiful about it is once you mint it, that exact one is into your wallet. And it had me thinking like this idea of this like true experience in Web3, it's been pretty lazy lately. Like I'm just saying, like most of the minting experiences, most of the projects have been very, not only like laid back and kind of, they don't, for the most part, they like hit the connect button, you hit the mint button, and it says, thanks, you minted to check OpenSea. And you're like, wow, I just spent more money on a digital project here than I have in anything else I'm doing. And hey, like, thanks, and then you have to kind of like figure your way through OpenSea or like open your, MetaMask. I feel like we've been really lazy in that arena and like kind of where we're all playing. But they also did a couple other things, right? They have a carbon offset. So they did a partnership that are allowing, the NFTs that you're minting to have the carbon offset. They also, are, they break down the rarity on the website. They break down, some of the parts of the technology. They also provide some fun facts about the Mutniks, right? So it says November 3rd, 2021 will be the 64th anniversary of the Laka's Sputnik 2 launch. And it was actually the same day that the Mutnik team was speaking at NFT NYC. And they kind of go through this whole the whole story of these Mutniks, and they talk about the anniversary of I guess the Soviet Union was the first nation to send dogs into outer space. But for me, like this is a Web3 experience. This is where we're going. And so in this episode where we talk a lot about, I was talking about like, don't let the terminology overwhelm you. Don't let the tech overwhelm you. Recognize that we need your voices. We need you asking the questions over and over again, right? Like one of the tweets I put out the other day was like, what's the dumbest question in NFTs that people need to be asking, but most aren't? And I have a whole list, and that's going to be an upcoming episode. That's a little tease. See, I'm teasing you out there, as they call it in the biz. But I also think that, I hope that when you're helping other people come into this space, let's not let the terminology be a barrier to entry, because there's already plenty of barriers to entry. There's bad people doing bad things. There's rug pulls. There's ridiculous security things that we have to teach people with wallets and exchanges and getting money from their bank into crypto. And then there's a hold on it. All of the things. There's plenty of barriers to entry. Let's not fall into the trap of letting terminology or letting those that are trying to separate themselves as the 1% stop us from growing, stop us from being a part of these great experiences. And let's also celebrate great projects that are adding these experiences. Because you know what? If a project like this one, right? If this project cares this much about us generating our art, my guess is they're going to care about us today, tomorrow, many months from now. And I will just tell you that, we minted one for our project here for NFT 365. I'll include a link to the show notes. But, Cosmic Pause, in my opinion, is a great example of what, recreating Web3 experiences need to be like. And guess what? We need more normies in the space to help us see through the dust, through the copycat, through the lack of creativity in some cases. And we need to help educate and lift each other up. As many of you know, my mantra is pretty simple. We are greater than me. But here's the thing. You cannot be part of a greater we and make an impact until you first are the best me that you can be. I share this advice on stages around the world as a speaker. I believe the number one thing that we can all focus on, every single human can focus on, is being better at our self-awareness, at really dialing ourselves in to understand who we are, what we are about, what are our values, what are the things we are good at, what are the things we are not good at, how do all of those things work? Because here's the magic, is that if we want to change the world, and I love this idea of making a world a better place, reimagining the future, we can't do it as a we until we first individually each invest in our own me, in our own selves. And that includes taking care of your mental health. That includes in prioritizing your own values, not allowing the influence of others to shape the way that you do things. But it also means standing up for what you believe in and having your core values and core beliefs. And so as I kind of wrap this, I just want to say, I remember, in school, growing up, and I got in trouble. I got suspended in school, and I remember, my parents did not stand for that, and very blessed. I have amazing parents that have always been there for me and my brothers and I. But I remember, me trying to explain what it was that why I got suspended and why I lost my cool or whatever it was. And I remember I tried to tell my dad. He didn't want to hear it, so I told my mom. I remember telling her I only have 3 things that piss me off, is what I said back then. I was like, I don't like when someone bullies someone out of a place of power, when someone picks on someone that is in my family, and when someone lays hands on a woman. And if those 3 things happen, I will take action into my own hands. And that case and example was someone, it was another boy in my class that had laid his hands on another girl in our class. And I ended up getting suspended because I threw him through the bathroom stall after he did so. And he was a much bigger kid than me. And I remember I ended up getting my butt kicked. So it's not like a glory story of me being victorious. But I say that story because of this. And I want to just reiterate this more in more episodes as well, is we have to stay true to our values. We need to put our values out there. And it's okay for us to stand up, and it's important for us to stand up for what we believe in, but let's do it in a way that makes the people around us better, not creating more into cancel culture, more into the separation, the haves and the have-nots. I believe censorship is part of the problem, but there's a difference between censoring someone and removing someone's influence from your life because that you do not appreciate or agree with their hate or their negativity. And there's also something to be said about, understanding that, even in a free speech world that we have, free speech country here in the United States, especially, it does not mean you are free from the consequences of what your speech is. And part of that comes down to, hey, you have the right to share the views that you have, but you also have to recognize that might be polarizing, that might affect others. But the thing that I've found, and the lesson that I just want to, hopefully this all kind of makes sense to everyone that's listening, is that if I know truly what my values were, right? Like when I was in elementary school and got suspended, I knew these three things that were just things that were non-negotiables for me. These were the three things that if they happened in front of me or to me or around me, that I was not going to, stand for it. And by the way, those three things are still essential in my life. But I knew that then. And what that allows me to do is then recognize other things that might be things I don't like. But you know what? They're not going to set me off that way because I have those core values. I have those core beliefs. And so for all the normies out there, stay true to your beliefs, stay true to your core. I think we can all work on our own self-awareness, self-improvement, self-love, self-care, and we can all make ourselves a priority. It is not selfish to make yourself a priority. And if we make ourselves a priority and then we understand what we know and what we don't know, that's when we can surround ourselves with people who know what we don't. And that's where real teamwork, real magic, real change is going to happen. So until tomorrow, my friends, as always, this podcast is super powered by the ADHD coin at Rally. Please jump over there, create your account. We are giving away 3 ADHD coin to all those that are creating an account between now and February 14th, Valentine's Day. Just jump into the Discord and share a screenshot and we'll get you taken care of. But it is super powered by the ADHD coin. Thank you all for holding the coin. Thank you for coming on this journey. And most of all, thank you for investing in yourself and making yourself a priority. Till tomorrow. Cheers. I took it down a path that I wasn't sure I was going to take because of a lot of the, I think there's an interesting combination of, we have to stand up and fight back on people and things that we don't agree on. But at the same time, we also have to prevent this like cancel culture and not giving people second chances or a fair shot or not understanding where people are coming from. And so I kind of mixed all of that into a very Normies podcast episode, but hopefully you guys enjoy. Stay tuned. We're going to roll out this proof of podcast concept very soon. So make sure you're up in the Discord. We're going to be giving away some money, giving away some NFTs. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see you over there. Cheers.